The rhythmic clatter of type bars striking inked ribbon against paper once echoed through offices, newsrooms, and literary dens around the world. The typewriter, a marvel of mechanical ingenuity, revolutionized the way people wrote, bringing speed, efficiency, and uniformity to the written word. For over a century, it was an essential tool in business, journalism, and literature, shaping how information was recorded and shared. Though it reigned supreme for generations, it eventually found itself overshadowed by newer technology. Let's take a deep dive into its rise, golden age, and ultimate decline, right here on History of Simple Things. The typewriter's origins can be traced back to the early 18th century, though the first commercially successful model didn't appear until the latter half of the 19th century. Early prototypes were cumbersome and impractical, often resembling little more than elaborate mechanical puzzles rather than functional writing instruments. One of the earliest attempts, the 1714 patent by Henry Mill, hinted at a future where words could be neatly imprinted on paper by machine. But it would take more than a century for the concept to materialize into something viable. The breakthrough came in 1868 when Christopher Latham Scholes, an American newspaper editor and inventor, along with his partners, developed the Scholes and Gliden typewriter, later marketed as the Remington No. 1. This machine introduced the world to the now iconic QWERTY keyboard, a layout designed to prevent jamming by spacing frequently used letters apart. Though initially met with skepticism, it laid the foundation for the typewriters that followed, setting the standard for decades to come. As the 20th century dawned, the typewriter became more than just an office tool. It became a symbol of productivity, professionalism, and modernity. With improvements in engineering, typewriters became lighter, more compact, and easier to use. Companies such as Underwood, Royal, Smith Corona, and IBM competed fiercely to refine their machines, introducing innovations like the Shift key, allowing for both uppercase and lowercase letters, and the backspace key, offering a semblance of correction in an otherwise unforgiving medium. By the 1920s and 1930s, typewriters were fixtures in workplaces across the globe. Secretaries and stenographers became essential components of business operations, their fingers flying over the keys at speeds rivaling those of the telegraph operators of previous generations. The clacking of typewriters filled the air in offices, newsrooms, and government agencies, a chorus of mechanical efficiency echoing through the halls of industry. The Second World War further cemented the typewriter's significance. It became a tool of wartime communication, used by military personnel to draft orders, intelligence reports, and correspondence. Portable typewriters were carried onto the battlefield, ensuring that documents could be produced swiftly, regardless of location. In the post-war boom of the 1950s and 1960s, typewriters became more accessible than ever. They were no longer just the domain of businesses and journalists. Households began to adopt them for personal correspondence, students used them for academic work, and writers relied on them to craft novels and screenplays. It was during this time that the electric typewriter began to gain traction, offering greater efficiency and reducing the physical effort required to press keys. IBM's Selectric typewriter, introduced in 1961, revolutionized the industry with its innovative golf ball typing element, allowing for faster typing speeds and interchangeable fonts. The typewriter had reached its peak, an unrivaled staple of modern civilization. But the seeds of its downfall had already been planted. As the 1970s and 1980s progressed, computers and word processors began to emerge as serious contenders. Unlike typewriters, computers offered the ability to edit text before printing, eliminating the frustration of typos and the need for correction fluid or erasers. The word processor, with its dynamic screen display and memory capabilities, quickly proved superior for business applications. While typewriters persisted in many offices, their days were numbered. Companies like IBM, once pioneers of typewriter innovation, began shifting focus toward computing technology. The transition was gradual at first, but by the late 1980s, The shift was undeniable. Typewriters were no longer the default choice for written communication. The 1990s marked the rapid decline of the typewriter industry. Personal computers became more affordable and accessible, with home users embracing the flexibility of digital text processing. Email replaced typed letters, laser printers produced documents with unparalleled clarity, and software programs like Microsoft Word rendered typewriters obsolete in nearly every professional setting. Once bustling typewriter factories shuttered their doors, unable to compete with the efficiency of digital alternatives. By the early 2000s, only a handful of manufacturers remained, catering primarily to niche markets, prisons where computers were restricted, and enthusiasts who clung to the nostalgic charm of the mechanical marvel. Yet, even in its decline, the typewriter never truly disappeared. A devoted subculture of writers, collectors, and artists continues to celebrate its enduring legacy. Some authors, including the likes of Tom Hanks, maintain personal collections and even use typewriters in their creative process, embracing the tactile experience and the deliberate nature of typing on a machine that demands focus and precision. Meanwhile, vintage typewriters have become prized artifacts, fetching high prices at auctions and antique shops. Certain brands, recognizing the enduring appeal of the typewriter, have even experimented with modernized versions, USB-compatible typewriters that merge mechanical keystrokes with digital functionality, offering a nostalgic experience in the digital age. Perhaps what makes the typewriter's legacy so enduring is not just its impact on productivity, but its role in shaping history. Countless great works of literature were birthed on typewriters, from Ernest Hemingway's manuscripts to George Orwell's political commentaries. The very documents that shaped nations, the speeches of world leaders, declarations of war and peace, investigative reports exposing corruption, all passed through the platen of a typewriter at some stage. Its mechanical keys bore witness to the triumphs and tragedies of the modern era, preserving thoughts, dreams, and revolutions in crisp black ink. Today, the typewriter stands as both a relic and a symbol of a bygone era where words were permanent, where each keystroke was an act of commitment, and where the written word carried an air of authenticity. While its practical use has faded, its influence remains woven into the fabric of history, a reminder of a time when machines were built to last, and writing was a physical act, not just an ephemeral flicker on a screen. The typewriter may have ceded its throne to the digital age, but its story, its sound, and its legacy continue to echo, much like the lingering impression of ink pressed onto paper. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.